A few days pass like this. There's a bizarre calm in the air. The palace is quiet despite the absolute chaos that the top echelon of the Empire is in right now. In the meantime, Cassius becomes Emperor with surprisingly little fanfare. I watch it on the screens, the young white wolf's right leg and left arm in cast, which is explained several times to have happened in the third trial, as he is coroneted by Kato, who is now missing his visor.
How does he look?
How can he be the advisor without a visor?
He's just the adva. Or the addy. Wait. Ad.
he's Adastra. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm so stupid. He's just the ad.
He's just the ad.
He's not the adv. V is in visor.
Adv.
Oh goodness.
This isn't explained to the viewers at all. I don't feel much as this happens.
Is he missing part of his face? Like, explain it to me. I'm not the viewer, but explain it to me.
You'll see it next time he's around. It's
okay.
They updated his sprite.
I am excited.
Realizing now how fake this all is, how it doesn't seem to mean anything despite how much I'm told it means. It's all theatrics. What matters most is taking the two of them down and getting Amicus up and out from that dungeon. Even now, I'm not really thinking about getting home despite the fact that the stretch drive should be returning any moment now, if it hasn't already. There were bigger things at stake here, the main one being my best friend's life. And that's why, on the third day after the fake trial, I find myself eagerly involving myself in a discussion with Neferu as he tells me his plans. Kato is back in the palace that day, and we both suspect he'll be making a trip to our room.
So, the most important thing to the wolves is drama. A scene. Something memorable. That's all they seem to care about around here.
Neferu sniffs dismissively as he sips at his wine. I find myself starting to see why Amicus might find him so irritating. Not that he's wrong, though, and I usually find myself agreeing with him. So, make a scene that makes Kato and Cassius look bad.
Well, most importantly we need to find, or even make up, information about them that will be irreparably damage their reputation in the public sphere.
Like what Cassius did to Amicus during the second trial? Neferu smirks.
Even worse than that, Marco. Preferably something that shows disloyalty, or insults the pride of the wolves in general. That is something they often can't look past.
Didn't Amicus have having sex with you show disloyalty, or hurt their pride? Neferu waves his paw dismissively in the air.
No, it's been established amongst the public that he was simply furthering his goal of an alliance with my species, which was completely in line with his character. Oh, what a motivation. What if politics actually worked like this?
It was a diplomatic fucking.
People do fuck each other over a lot. It's different, though. As for pride, well, he wasn't the one raising his tail.
I sigh.
Oh my gosh. No shame to bottoms. Quit shaming bottoms.
So we need something about Cassius and Kato that's out of their character?
Yes, something that shows them to be not who they say they are. The public must distrust them.
Like Cassius being a little bitch boy.
Yeah, that'd be. You could film him at any time of day, and just catch him being a little punk ass bitch.
Just film one of his tantrums.
I asked for like brown sugar oatmeal. I want the one with the dinosaur eggs in it.
Oatmeal's so gross.
I hate oatmeal.
It. Neferu strokes his chin.
Would be convenient to have all that footage that Virginia was talking about, but considering how secure it might be, that could be impossible.
Worth trying to get, though.
Yes, I'll have to discuss that further with Virginia.
So, what should I be doing? While it feels good to talk about what can be done to help Amicus, I personally want to do something. Neferu pauses, then smiles at me.
Marco, my duty is to not put you in danger, as I've said. I won't have you.
Well, I don't care. I need to help. I'll do whatever I have to. Neferu raises an eyebrow at me.
Oh yes? Even if it might risk your own life? Kato is only barely tolerating the protective line that being a Chemian citizen affords you. I would not push him further.
Then I'll do things behind the scenes. I don't care. I just want to do something. Neferu sighs deeply.
We'll see. Just keep in mind that the most important thing to Amicus is that you stay alive. That's what you can do that will help him the most.
I take that in, still not fully convinced that there's nothing I can do.
But I'll certainly let you know if I believe there's a way for you to help. As for me, my status leaves me untouchable, unless Kato wants to risk another war, which I guarantee you he does not.
I'd imagine. He has first-hand experience.
Indeed. Neferu, Kato wishes to enter your quarters.
I jump, wondering if the walls are thin enough for the old wolf to have heard us. Neferu doesn't seem surprised, though.
Ah, as we expected. Calm, please tell him to hold for a moment. I'm in the nude. Yes, Neferu.
Neferu looks at me.
I suppose our mission starts now. I have my own drone recording in the corner there. Hopefully it catch the old man saying something incriminating. What I'd like you to do is crouch behind those bushes. Keep hidden and quiet.
What? I thought I was supposed to be involved.
You will be, but I'd rather he not filter himself because of you.
I hesitate for a second, then quickly do as I'm told, even though I do feel bitter at the feeling of being tossed aside once again. Neferu, I will override the security again if you do not.
Kato just wants to see his dick. He's like, I'm gonna come in anyway.
Funny thing about seeing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no.
Kato's voice crackles over the speakers, but that's when the jackal opens the door, and for a moment his voice comes from two places at once. I'm pretty well hidden behind a few trees and bushes, my surroundings dark enough that I'm pretty sure Kato wouldn't be able to see me through the leaves and twigs I'm peeking through. The two males stand awkwardly across from each other before Kato suddenly strides in, forcing the jackal to step aside, though Neferu keeps that smug smile on his face.
What a pleasure it is for you to visit me today.
As Kato walks in, I get a look at his face for the first time.
Oh, weird.
I'd seen that he lacked his visor in the broadcast, but seeing it up close, the stern looks I'd always imagined under his now broken machinery is definitely there. His eyes have a milky gray quality to them, heavily scarred. The old wolf stops just in front of the fountain, his ears perked up high. I wonder if he can see anything at all, and Neferu asks just that.
How is your sight, your former highness?
I see one of those ears twitch before the wolf suddenly turns around. Non-existent, young prince.
Oh, please, just call me Nef.
Where is the alien? Neferu pauses.
Alex, or do you mean...
You know damn well who I'm referring to, Jackal. Neferu raises his paws defensively, even though Kato can't see.
Apologies, Kato. Marco told me he would be in the gardens doing landscaping work.
Kato snorts. I didn't hear him out there.
It is a rather large garden, a very beautiful one as well. Not that you can see it.
Kato doesn't respond, instead staring around the room.
Would you like some wine?
Neferu gestures at the bedside table, picking up his own goblet to take a sip, loudly. I see Kato's ears twitch again before he turns to the jackal. What is your plan with the alien? Neferu frowns.
Plan?
Do not ever play games with me. That will be my only warning to you, Jackal. Kato's voice is so cold and ominous that even Neferu's grin wavers, but he quickly recovers, taking another loud slurp of wine.
Such good wine. One of the few superior products your people produce. Now, as for Marco, I'm simply fulfilling a promise to Amicus.
I see. That wasn't so hard to tell me then, was it?
Speaking of, quite astonishing that he was so easily beaten by Cassius, of all people.
Quite.
I wonder how he was able to accomplish such a feat.
It was broadcast. You would have been able to see it.
Ah, well, I don't watch Adastran broadcasts. Too much melodrama and propaganda for my tastes.
Pugnu is a combination of skill and luck, and it's not always the strongest that wins.
Of course, though I have to wonder, might any of that luck have been, well, manufactured?
Kato is silent for a moment. Kato being silent is when you know that something is very wrong. Are you implying something, Jackal?
Oh no, I'm simply curious. I came to study the politics and workings of the Empire while also trying to improve relations between our species. I feel knowing all the facets of woven politics is important.
Kato sneers. There's a fine line between studying and spying here. Nefero chuckles.
Well, what I do know is that you wolves often go about things in a theatrical fashion, and it's sometimes hard to tell what's real or not. I assumed the fight to be, well, somewhat staged.
Ha. Kato chuckles, and immediately I know that Nefero is making a lot of mistakes here. I'm not sure what his plan is. Maybe he thought that Kato would be more friendly with him, or that he could lull the old wolf into a false sense of security somehow. Maybe he's just trying to feel the old man out. I also get the feeling that maybe he shouldn't have had all that wine before doing this. His suave, carefree attitude works on most, either to charm or to annoy, but Kato is not someone I feel it will work particularly well on. Either way, it's clear Kato knows exactly what's happening. I know Chemians pride themselves on their own intelligence, but I have to wonder why, considering your extreme stupidity.
Oh?
Nefero casually sloshes his wine around in his goblet. Your arrogance amazes me, young one. I know you were fortunate enough to have been birthed after the war, but it's as if you were never taught the history between our peoples.
I've spent countless hours studying this history, Kato, and that's mostly why I'm here.
Mostly. It seems the rest of that reason is to fuck with the delicate balance our empire is currently in.
Certainly not. I am merely an observer.
I want to tell Nefero to shut up. To just tell Kato to go look for me out in the gardens or something. I can see the hackles on Kato's shoulders rising, and I can only hope that the Jackal was right about being untouchable. I know I offered you to stay in this palace as long as you pleased, and I never withdraw an offer without good reason. But have you thought of moving out to the city? There are many more accommodations out there.
Oh no, thank you. I much prefer it here. Everyone is so interesting.
It is just like a Chemian to take full advantage of a wolf's tolerance. Nefero quirks an eyebrow.
Tolerance? Not a word I often associate with a wolf.
I can tell that Nefero's losing his cool as well. Our tolerance for your arrogance was unprecedented. Nefero seems confused for a moment.
Oh, are you referring to the war? I'm sorry. We're quite a bit more blunt where I'm from, so I did not realize what you were getting at.
Nefero smirks.
For a moment, I thought you were coming on to me, much like Amicus did. Oh, damn!
Definitely too much to drink. Or this Jackal is a lot crazier than I thought he was.
You wolves tend to be aggressive, like the...
Kato becomes a blur, closing the 5-foot distance between the two of them in less than a second. The next thing I know, Kato has the Jackal up against one of the pillars, slamming Nefero so hard against it that I see the plaster crack and fall away. Nefero gasps loudly, kicking out at Kato a few times as he struggles with the old wolf's thick arms.
Get off!
Nefero kicks out again, this time at Kato's groin. If the old wolf felt anything, he doesn't show it, instead holding Nefero tightly in place while he snarls in his face. Speaking of tolerance, I have tolerated your arrogance far too long, just because you are the Pharaoh's son. The second son, and a ruler who has so little power over his kingdom in the first place, I shouldn't be surprised. Kato pulls Nefero forward, then slams him back against the pillar again, causing more plaster to fall and the Jackal's teeth to clack together loud enough that I can hear it. You're all the fucking same, every single one of you. But somehow you're the worst I've yet to meet. Again, Kato slams Neferu against the pillar, and I start to stand up, wishing I had a Nervo. Neferu growls, trying another kick. Is this the next generation of Chemian we must deal with? I know you weren't alive for the war, but it seems another one is inevitable if you're an example of what's to come. Neferu tries to speak, but lets out a choked cough. Kato loosens his grip, and Neferu gasps a few times.
You know, Amicus was a bit less rough, but if you wanted to put your paws on me, you only had to.
This time, Kato almost...
Neferu!
It's not a good call. This time, Kato almost lifts the jackal off his feet, cutting Neferu off with a horrific gag, like he's throwing up. I must say, you have a funny way of going about building an alliance. It's as if you thought tail-raising would get you whatever you wanted.
Does it not?
Now Neferu really starts to struggle, kicking around aimlessly, throwing his head left and right, sending drool flinging from his muzzle. Kato doesn't relent, and I know that this is my cue to do something. It's been a while since I've killed a jackal. My paws have been itching to do it again. Maybe you'll be my next. I don't know what to do exactly. I have no weapon, but I wonder if maybe I can at least distract the wolf long enough for Neferu to get away, to breathe again. So I run out of my hiding spot, rustling the branches and leaves as I do. Kato is so focused on what he's doing to Neferu he doesn't seem to even hear me. As I run at him, I can see the wolf grinning maniacally into Neferu's face, like this really is something he's been wanting to do for a very long time. He finally seems to hear me at the last second, turning his head in my direction before I lower my shoulder and try to tackle him off Neferu. It's like hitting a brick wall covered in fur. I make contact with the old man's side, and for a moment I get a whiff of musk and perfume before I'm sent right back down on my ass. I wonder for a moment if I've dislocated my shoulder, looking up in a daze at what result my attack might have had, if any. To my relief, I see Neferu on his paws and knees, gagging and coughing, drool stringing from his muzzle. Kato is standing slightly to the side, looking in my direction, over my head, but he clearly knows where I am. He only focuses on me for a moment, though, then turns his head in the direction of the coughing jackal, Neferu crawling away at this point. Kato makes his way toward him before drawing back a foot. I can only reach out, not even having enough time to ask Kato to stop before the wolf kicks the jackal between the legs. He does it so hard that I see Neferu's knees skip off the ground for a moment before he pitches face first into the marble, on his knees, and clutching at himself as he lets out a howl of agony. I cringe, immediately thinking of the time I kicked Amicus, and how much harder Kato must have kicked Neferu. I start to move towards him again, in case Kato thinks of doing anything else, but the old wolf simply stands there, breathing heavily, head tilted down as he listens to Neferu's moan. For the kicks you gave me earlier, that should put your whoring out of commission for a few days, no? Neferu is curled up on his knees at this point, paws tucked into himself. It's at this point that I see a gush of red liquid overflow from his muzzle, and for one horrific moment I wonder if Kato had kicked him so hard he'd ruptured his organs or something. But no, it's the wine, and it spills across the marble. Kato wrinkles his nose at the retching sound before carefully stepping around the jackal. As I said, I won't withdraw my offer for you to stay, but there are many apartments open in the city. Just know that you will not be able to take your new citizen with you. Otherwise, I'd like to try this discussion again in the future, if you're willing to be more cooperative. With that, the old wolf stalks out of the bedroom. At the same time, 2 white drones float in, hovering over Neferu. One lowers itself to the ground to begin cleaning up the mess, while the other holds out what looks like a couple capsules on a plate, which it balances on a metal appendage.
Neferu, you seem to have vomited. Would you like an anti-nausea medication?
Calm. He kicked him in the balls so hard he puked wine and then laid in the puddle of puke wine. Like, that's how his day is going.
God, that's awful.
No, it's really bad. The description that he got kicked so hard that his knees came off the ground. And it's like, no.
I don't even have balls if that made me flinch just thinking about that.
That's not a good indication at all. I stumble over to the jackal to kneel at his side and try to help in any way I can. He simply keeps his eyes screwed shut, holding up a paw before returning it to his sore spot. Awkwardly, I rub at his shoulder, trying to ignore the smell as the drone does its work to clean up the puke. A few minutes later, I manage to help the jackal to the bed, his breath ragged the entire way. It's strange seeing him like this, usually so confident and in control. I never expected anyone to do anything like this to him. But I guess if someone was going to do it, it was Kato. Are you sure you're okay? I ask for what's probably the third time as I sit next to him, and Neferu manages to smile despite the clear pain he's in.
No. But I'll have to go to the physician to be sure. All the way in the city since Kato saw fit to imprison the palace doctor.
Do you, need ice or something? I don't know, he hit you so fucking hard.
I'll manage. I just miscalculated. I know how to handle him in the future.
I frown, not really feeling like that's the case. As I'm trying to help him, though, Calm's voice comes over the intercom again.
Virginia requests access to your room, Neferu.
Neferu suddenly straightens up, moving his paws from his crotch to his thighs.
Granted.
She nods at the two of us before wrinkling her nose.
Smells like rancid wine in here. Indeed. What did you need, Virginia?
To my surprise, Virginia turns to me. Instead of the hostile expression she'd been wearing the last time we'd encountered each other, it's much kinder, much to my relief.
Marco, I had a discussion with Cassius about seeing Amicus. He seems accepting of the idea, under one condition. There's
a pause. What?
Well, he wishes to speak with you in private.
Private? Neferu immediately speaks up next to me.
That is not wise, Marco. We should negotiate with him to allow me to be there.
Virginia laughs.
You really think Cassius would allow a Chemian in on a private conversation?
Virginia pauses, eyeing the jackal, Neferu currently still hunched up despite his attempts to keep straight.
What happened to you? Nothing of note.
I raise an eyebrow, which Virginia sees.
Marco, what happened?
Well... I pause, watching as Neferu raises his own eyebrow, but makes no attempt to stop me. Well, Neferu pissed off Kato, and Kato hurt him.
What? I was attempting to pry information from the old man about the sage trial. I was unsuccessful. Why did you even think you could be successful? Kato knows exactly what we're up to, no doubt. This is so unlike you. It jeopardizes everything, Neferu.
Virginia seems completely bewildered, and now that I think about it, I have to agree. What was Neferu thinking? But then Virginia narrows her eyes as she sees the jackal grinning, now openly covering his crotch.
What? Well, I may not have achieved exactly what I wanted, but I attained something just as valuable.
Neferu glances at the corner of the room, where his drone is. You recorded it at all?
Yes, and an attack on the Pharaoh's son will not look very nice on the Chemian news channels, will it? Neferu.
A dark tone enters the wolf's voice.
That risks war.
The jackal rolls his eyes, adjusting himself rather lewdly.
I would never actually send it, but Kato does not know that. It's simply convenient blackmail material if things don't go as planned.
Virginia squeezes the bridge of her snout, closing her eyes.
You don't know Kato very well, do you? And neither do I. Sometimes I believe he wants another war. Did he hit you?
Virginia's eyes drift lower.
Yes.
He's
Anyway,
blushing.
I know, he's all... Anyway, he's no longer the Emperor. It's Cassius I'd use it against. You know Cato is his advisor, but still not the Emperor. I would hope your brother has large enough stones.
Again, the jackal adjusts himself.
To do his job and not listen to a warmongering advisor. One would hope.
Virginia continues to look unconvinced. I shift around impatiently next to Neferu. So, did he want to see me now? Virginia turns to me, again looking as if she had forgotten that I was there.
That seemed to be the case.
Neferu sighs loudly.
I at least tried to convince him to allow you to be present, Virginia. I don't want Marco to be left alone with him. There's little to worry about. Cass is not Cato, but I can try.
Virginia looks to me.
Ready, Marco?
I quickly get up, following the wolf to the door. I look back at Neferu, the jackal looking uncharacteristically disheveled as he's still hunched up around his junk. He gives me a meaningful look, probably meant to tell me just to be careful, so I give him a quick nod before following the wolf out the door. We walk in silence, the only sound being the birds and the swishing of our robes as we make our way through the halls. I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but after a while I realize it must be the throne room. I stare at the back of the she-wolf's head, contemplating a few things. Virginia is the person I know the least about in this place, which probably means she's doing the best job at playing this little game. I want to ask her a lot of things, but I'm worried about overstepping boundaries, something that seems rather easy to do with her. As we get close to that door, I can't help myself from asking at least one question. So, do you care that Amicus is in the dungeons? Like, you want to get him out, not just because you want him to be his advisor, right? Immediately I see the she-wolf's ears flick back in. Hopefully mild annoyance, not extreme anger. Her voice is steady when she answers me, though.
First of all, it's not any of your business why my motivations are, Marco.
Virginia doesn't follow that up immediately, so we're left in an awkward silence as we walk the last 10 feet to the throne room door. She pauses there and finally looks at me, her eyes narrowed.
But Amicus is my brother, and for that alone I love him. And though he's a complete dullard, he's one of the few to be genuinely kind to me in this palace. He is a good wolf.
Virginia turns away, raising a paw to hover over the black panel.
But you
Hover over the black panel. Hover over the black panel.
But you would already know that.
With that, she presses the panel and the doors slide open. I immediately spot Cassius on the other end of the cavernous room, looking a bit small and insignificant on the extravagant throne.
Oh, he's such a little frail boy.
He's so small. I sent you the lineup, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's got, where Amicus had the like the studded Hot Topic pants.
Some characters are just really similar. Like Alex looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a...
The Hot Topic pants, it's like a very strange deviation from the current like aesthetic.
Yeah. It almost fits better with the script saying that they're apparently leather or whatever, though.
Oh yeah, they look way more like leather.
Because they look like denim in this or something. I'm not sure. They do look shiny.
It also fits with the plot point of Amicus wanting the people to think he's cool.
Exactly. Because it's very funny because he specifically just wears jeans because they're cool.
Because they're cool.
So the idea that they were like studded in black is just like,
but we all know it's for bold purposes. Obviously. That's
his entire motivation. The Battle of the Bulge.
I mean, that could be a good way to get votes, you know? When are we going to have a person run for president who's going to be like looking real fucking good in jeans?
Just real good.
No time soon. We have not had a president that's looked good in jeans in a hot minute. Like,
probably not the best impression for the Emperor of Adastra to make. He should have gotten jeans.
Yeah, he'd look a lot cooler in the throne if he was wearing jeans.
He's got to accentuate his best features, so he's got to get like a chest harness.
Who, Cassius?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the one thing he's got.
He's got a lot of chest.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm thinking this, we begin to make our way towards him. Yeah, I was thinking about his chest. A drone hovers in front of the White Wolf, holding up a screen under his face. He's not looking at it right now, though, instead narrowing his eyes at the two of us as Virginia escorts me to the base of the steps.
Here he is, brother.
Cassius shifts around in his seat, and for a moment I think I catch sight of some sort of booster seat under his rear.
Oh, what a twerp.
This game's just bullying him at this point.
Well, he fucking deserves it. He's an asshole.
Thank you, Virginia. You can leave us be now. Virginia hesitates, clasping her paws together in front of herself.
Brother, I would feel more comfortable if I were allowed to stay. I'd rather not leave you alone with an unprofiled alien.
Cassius snorts, waving his paw dismissively. I've interacted with it many times before. I'll be fine. If not, then the drones will take care of him.
Obviously, she actually feels like worried about Marco, but she can't really say it
phrasing
that way.
Things diplomatically. They both have the same lip ring, or lip piercing. Amicus and Cassius.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Virginia doesn't have one.
Yeah. Cassius makes eye contact with me as he says that last part, clearly meaning for me to take it as a warning or a threat. Virginia hesitates again, and Cassius's eyes drift towards her in question. That's when the she-wolf bows deeply before turning away. As she passes me, she gives me her own look, not unlike Neferu's. Be careful. I continue to face Cassius, as I listen to Virginia's soft footsteps recede behind me. Then I hear the door open and close. I keep my eyes low, on Cassius's feet, though I can tell he's looking directly at me. The silence drags on. I wonder if the White Wolf is using Kato's technique of using silence to intimidate. Finally, though, he clears his throat loudly, almost making me jump. First, I want to say that you may speak freely here. I only want the truth. I look up at him then, and I see that he's not looking at me anymore. Instead, it's to the side, as if he's lost in thought. I'm confused as to how all this could have happened. So know that if you speak the truth, you will be free from any consequences. Consequences? He's making it sound as if I've committed some kind of crime or conspiracy. I mean, maybe I've been a part of some, but it's definitely not my fault. What do you want to know? Cassius's eyes flick to mine then, and I see mild surprise there. He's still probably not used to an alien like me speaking directly to him in full sentences. He pauses again before resting his chin on a paw, clearly trying to look casual. Who exactly are you? I raise an eyebrow. Marco, you already know this. I know your name, but I want to know more beyond that. What is it that you're doing here? How did my brother find you? Immediately, our conversation reaches a point where I find myself unsure of what to say. How much can I say to him? Obviously, I can't trust him at all. I know that. But I also know that he's in complete control over what happens to Amicus, and there may be a few things that I have to give up to keep my wolf safe. So I square my shoulders and look Cassius in the eye. I want to know that Amicus is okay first, and I want to see him. Immediately, Cassius's demeanor changes from sour suspicion to sour fury. Excuse me! You aren't the one to make demands here. I am the Emperor, and you will answer my questions. I get the vague sensation of my balls drawing up into my stomach as I realize how dangerous all of this is. Seems like a pretty specific sensation, honestly.
I wouldn't know, but I'm just gonna imagine.
I mean, that's not a thing that can happen. I don't know if
you
you're
guys just don't
surprised by
retract
that.
them like a.
Not to your stomach.
Yes, just don't go like they just suck up into your body when you're scaling.
Completely retreat and escape. My thoughts go to that physician, Felix, being sent to the dungeons without a second thought. But I know I have protections, and I can trust them now if I'm going to make any sort of deal with Cassius. Yeah, but you're not my emperor. I answer to the pharaoh. I'm spitballing, but it seems to be working as it gives Cassius pause. After a moment, it seems like he's able to collect himself. So I've heard. But remind yourself that we are on Adastra. Therefore, you are to abide by our laws and customs, and lying to the Emperor is punishable by death. And again, that feeling in my stomach. The balls. But I have to remind myself, rules don't matter here, it's all about playing their game. I know that Cassius would never have me executed or imprisoned while Nefero is here. That would be far too risky for the Empire as a whole. I can't be intimidated by empty threats, even if they threaten my life. If I want to help Amicus, I have to push the limits. At least within reason. I also remind myself that I'm not completely untouchable, as Nefero's balls can attest to.
Gosh,
always with the
so
balls.
much balls this
So much
reference.
balls. I just want to see my former master. If you can guarantee me that, I'll tell you what happened. Another long pause as Cassius just glares at me, then he lets out a little huff. Fine. And then Kiki let out a little huff.
Actually, I did like perfect timing. She just gave a deep sigh from
Yeah.
like over on the bed where she's sleeping.
It's almost funny how he's still acting like a child despite now being the Emperor of Adastra. So I take a deep breath. I consider lying, of course, but what Amicus did was an honest mistake, at least in my opinion. Lying will probably only make things worse when the truth should be so understandable. So I start at the beginning, about how Amicus came upon the records of my people in the archives, how he rushed my planet to find a willing pet. How everything suddenly went south when he found out, far too late, that we were not part of the Galaxius, and finally how he tried to keep it all secret to keep the Empire safe. I emphasized the keeping of the Empire safe part, even if it wasn't originally at the top of my priorities. I'm telling the truth, even if I'm stretching it a bit. Cassius listens to all this with various reactions: contempt, surprise, anger, then contemplation. I'm struck by the contrast between him and Kato. While Kato keeps his emotions in check, aside from the occasional explosions of rage, Cassius wears it all on his sleeve. Not that different from Amicus in that way, even if his personality is. When Cassius still doesn't say anything, I sigh. It was an honest mistake, you've got to understand that. I already know that it was a mistake. Even Amicus would not make first contact on purpose. I had just wondered what sort of stupidity caused it. He had no reason to think we were uncontacted. We were recorded in the library or whatever. Cassius suddenly shifts in his throne. What are you? Species and planet name. His last sentence has the inflection of an expectant demand. Now I'm left to stand in silence. No fucking way am I telling this wolf brat where I'm from. Cassius must see this on my face immediately, because his fur once again puffs out in anger. That face. Do you want to see Amicus or not? I need to know this to verify that what you are saying is truthful. Is that really why? I know what you wolves do to the other aliens. Why should I give away my people like that? Cassius puffs himself up even bigger, and I wonder if he's going to start screaming at me. Then he suddenly just deflates. The problem here is first contact, yes? So why would I go out and do whatever you think it is I'm going to do to your people? I have no interest in furthering the problem, I simply want to know. But why do you care? Cassius snaps his eyes back up to mine. Believe it or not, Marco, I'm trying to help Amicus. Do you not know the consequence of such a crime? He could be executed for this.
Isn't it up to you?
Now my heart does a backflip.
Emperor guy, isn't that up to you?
What? Why? Because it is a sacred rule created by the parents. Disobeying them risks our entire empire to abandonment. But you're the Emperor. If you want to keep him alive, can't you just do that? I feel myself starting to panic a little. I thought that maybe Amicus would be kept in the dungeons for a while, but I never thought he could be at risk of being executed. If it were only that I knew... If it were only I that knew of this, maybe. But there are others that know of his crime, and they expect me to terminate all evidence of the first contact. Cassius stares at me, and I realize part of that evidence is, of course, me. Are you talking about Kato? He's just your advisor, right? You can ignore him. This time Cassius doesn't respond, looking away again. If I can make the case that this was truly an honest mistake, then maybe I have a chance of convincing these others. Better yet, convince them that this wasn't first contact at all. Are you even sure your people are completely unaware of the Galaxius? I start to say that I'm pretty sure, but he's looking at me in a strange way. Our governments are pretty secretive. They might know something. So it's possible that a crime wasn't committed at all, simply a misunderstanding, and knowing where you came from can help us determine that. I'm a bit caught off guard by all of this. I guess I just expected Cassius to let Amicus rot in the dungeons while he enjoyed his emperorship. But I'm reminded of what Virginia had said earlier, that although they might stab each other in the back, they're still siblings. Didn't you once say that you only care about that you don't care about the parents? Wouldn't it be part of your plan for them to abandon the Empire? Cassius sighs deeply. I've said many things, but I've found that once you become Emperor, your perspective on things change. Like, how much you need the parents. Cassius glares at me, so I just go on. How would they find out anyway? Amicus said something about monitors? Obviously, we can just talk about it. Obviously, we can just talk about it in the open without anything happening. I look around, as if expecting a monitor to poke his head out from behind one of the pillars. I don't know. But what I do know is that the fewer who know, the better. What even is a monitor? Cassius shrugs. Again, I don't know. None have appeared in living memory, but that does not mean we should not be cautious. The risk is far too great. I don't really understand any of this. I feel like if the parents are as powerful and all-knowing as these aliens make them out to be, then they probably already know I'm here. Before I can bring this up to Cassius, though. So, what are you, and where are you from? I think. He's right that it wouldn't make sense for the wolves to go after Earth. It is technically the last thing the Empire would want, especially with Cassius as Emperor, considering his isolationist views. But most importantly, it could help Amicus. I take a deep breath. And if I tell you, you let me see Amicus? Yes. I don't like only being able to go on his word, but for some reason, I feel like he's being sincere. I'm a human from the planet Earth. Human Earth. Cassius mumbles the words, the lingua cutting off and allowing me to hear the wolf's accented voice unfiltered.
Weird.
He pulls the floating drone at his side towards himself, tapping at the screen a few times, probably making notes. It feels incredibly wrong at that moment, like I've betrayed all humans somehow. But again, I can't see why it would put Earth in danger. On top of that, I'm also counting on Amicus becoming Emperor eventually. And I know he'd never do anything to my planet. I'm playing the game. Cassius stares at the screen a while, and I shift around on my feet. So, I can go see him now? He snaps his gaze up to mine. Yes, now is best. Kato should not be back for a few more hours, but I can only give you 20 minutes, just to be safe. Kato? What about him? What do you mean, what about him? I want to ask Cassius why it sounds like Kato's in charge and not he himself, but I know not to press those buttons right now. Never mind. Can I see him regularly? Cassius sighs loudly again, standing up. If it's not often, and you come to me first, and if Kato's away... Yep, definitely not fully in charge. Kato's clearly got some control over Cassius. Either way, I'm too happy at the thought of being able to see Amicus semi-regularly to care at that moment. Anyway, calm. Escort Marco to the dungeons and to visit Amicus for 20 minutes. That's when I remember I have other questions. Wait, do you have contact with the parents now? Cassius looks at me strangely. Yes. We made contact after I became Emperor. It was expected. Oh, that's good. Indeed. Though we had to implement the traditional technique, it's a bit archaic, but highly effective. Oh, so do you have the stretch drive again? Cassius looks at me suspiciously. Hey, I need to get home eventually, and you'd be getting rid of the problem if you got me there. Well, no, not yet. But I've only spoken with them a few times. I'll be meditating on that today. I'll keep you updated when we discuss things in the future. You want to talk to me again? Yes.
Don't fall in love with us. We're already taken.
We're just so prone
popular.
to having people fall in love with us all the time.
Dude, I know what it's like.
100% of the wolves that have talked to me more than like twice have fallen in love with me. Cassius then stalks off while a drone circles around me, telling me to follow it. I think about apologizing then for the whole Nervo incident, but then I realize if he's not going to mention it, then maybe I shouldn't either. I realized then how strange the whole exchange has been. Cassius had seemed like a whole different person, but I guess now he thinks of me more as an equal, at least in terms of intelligence. It makes him almost tolerable. We didn't die.
Time that Cassius is almost tolerable.
We didn't die, and Kato seems to be Emperor basically still.
Yeah, basically Cassius is like the kid who's watching the house and watching his younger siblings while while dad's at work.
Like one of those narratives with like all the viziers or whatever that are all like manipulating like the child emperor and so on, except he's like 20.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like our current political situation where the president means nothing.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.
How could you get political in this political intrigue game, Stephanie?
Oh yeah, how dare us. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys.